Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Kirby's Dream Land 2. The last hour we did Red Canyon, now we're here at World 6 Cloudy Park. And this is my least favorite world in the game. Why? First off, final world aside, it is the longest world in the game in terms of level length. And it's just really boring to me. Because I've never been a fan of sky-themed worlds in any game ever. So, yeah, I don't like this one too much. Plus, it's... well, actually, no, never mind. Its Rainbow Drop isn't annoying to get to. That's World 7's. So, in terms of little trivia I was doing some research on, mind you, I knew this one anyway. But, Kirby's Dream Land 2 was actually going to get a re-release on the Game Boy Color, similarly to how Link's Awakening got Link's Awakening DX. It would have been Kirby's Dream Land 2 DX. But it was cancelled for some reason. I don't know why. And I know something similarly happened around the exact same time for Metroid 2. A game I really wish got a DX version because then it wouldn't look so monochrome. Back when I did an LP of it. The bricks here, you've actually seen a couple of these things in various stages beforehand, but they are very similar to the falling apart, to the crumble bricks from Metroid, in that after you stand on them for a second, they will crumble away. However, unlike the crumble bricks from Metroid, they don't regenerate after a few seconds. Either way, since this is a world themed after the sky, you can probably guess that Ku is really good here. So if you find him, hold on to him, like I'm going to for the most of the world from here on out. I will say that while a lot of levels in this world are very long, there are some short ones interspersed in there, so you won't be here forever, but it gets pretty annoying all the same. Thankfully, Ku is just broken, and I love him. Though that makes me think, what is my favorite Kirby power? Probably Sword to this day. Especially the Super Sword you can get in Amazing Mirror after beating the game, I think it is. Also on that list is, I think it's Electric Cutter? Or Spark Cutter or whatever from 64 that turns you into Darth Maul. That's really cool too. You know, part of me wished, actually looking at the Victory games, that having an animal buddy gave you a boost. Like, imagine Ku just throwing you off of him and throwing you up an extra level. That'd be really good. Either way, I actually left the world and got Kind really quick because I want him for this level in specific. Also, if you haven't, when you do that, because I recommend you do that, if you haven't gotten... well, first off, yeah, make sure you have ice because you need it in this world. Or this level at least, because you need to break these blocks. If you haven't gotten the female blob yet, do that now, because it's the only other time I really think you really should go and get it. Because honestly, if you haven't noticed by the game's length, this is one of those games you can easily beat in a day. Not as easily as, say, Kirby's Dream Land 1, which is like 30 minutes long, but still. And this is one of the most annoying stages in the game. Why? First off, jump down here for a secret. To get something in this stage, in my eyes, I'm not sure if you always have to do this, but you have to go really out of the way if you want to see everything. First off, swim over here with Kind to get a Spark Boss? Yeah. And we need to beat him in order to get, I think it's Rick. Ow. I forget what we get here, actually. Either way, there's a really long chain of events here if you want to get something, so... and I'm not sure if you can skip it or skip right to it, so this could take a while. Also, yeah, that's the thing. Kind Ice actually freezes himself after a bit, so don't hold the button for too long. Either way, after that, you're going to want to get Spark. Oh, no, we're not here to get Rick. We're just here to get Spark. And that's going to return us back to the previous room. However, we want to head back down into that room and head right. Because there is another door over there that has another mini-boss, and Spark is not only really good for it, but you need it in order to get something later on. Mind you, you could feasibly... I'm actually not sure if you could just bring in the final power you need for all this in and get Ku for it. Because this is the stage with the Rainbow Drop in it, if I recall. And it's a pretty long chain of events if you do it the way I do it. Which is the way I always do it, so yeah. Thankfully, Stone Mini Boss is really easy with Kind Spark. And I don't need stone at all. Though I do need to keep Spark with me. And let's get on Rick. And in this room, this is why you need Rick Spark, so you can knock this down. Because these cannons are keeping Koo in this bag. And now with Koo rescued, we can continue on. I really should research whether or not you need to do this order of events. I wouldn't be surprised if you needed to. And we want to head over here and fight the ninja. And we need Cutter from this guy, so don't do what I did in an outtake and accidentally kill him, then absorb both the star that I left and him. Because the thing is with Kirby's Dream Land 2, I think another Kirby game or two does this, is that if you suck up an enemy, but your star that you absorb, that you ejected from yourself gets inhaled as well, the star that you ejected from yourself takes priority, which is a system I don't really like, but at the same time, I can see why it's there. Because should you, like, lose a power you really like, and then try to grab it by inhaling, and then accidentally inhale another enemy, you don't want to get the new ability from the other enemy, so I can see why it's there. And there's Rainbow Drop number 6, one left, and it's in the final world. Also, it's a very simplistic background back there I only now noticed, huh. But yeah, World 6, it is the longest world in the game in terms of pure stage length. Because, I'll tell you for a fact, World 7 stages are a lot shorter than any of World 6's. And it just feels like, honestly, it almost feels like filler at times. I don't know why, it just does. It's the least fun stage in the game. World in the game, rather. In fact, I actually have had a playthrough or two where I got here and just kind of put the game down because I had my fill of Kirby at that point. Oh, and here you can see what I was talking about. I think it was last part or 2 parts ago, one of the two, where if you're underwater, a lot of your abilities have a shorter range, or at least a lesser effect, which is annoying, but I know why it's there, because having complete godhood underwater would be stupid, unless you're kind. And now we got this. This is a giant wind tunnel. However, if you have lightning, or spark, and Koo, you can completely skip a lot of the stuff. And we'll never see that fireball monster again. Now, if there's anything I can really give Kirby compliments for, is that it keeps things very familiar throughout the series, because, well, first off, here's Koo stone. This one works a bit differently. Koo doesn't get turned into a stone, but he carries Kirby's stone. And because he carries it with him, the impact actually has a much larger shockwave to it. And as you can see, you actually have a bigger range with it because of such when it lands. Either way, as I was saying. Kirby keeps things very familiar no matter which game in the series you're playing, because if you look at games like this, and then go to one of the more modern ones, like Kirby's Adventures in Dreamland, not Adventures in Dreamland, that sounds like an anime almost. Return to Dreamland, or Nightmare in Dreamland, or even Epic Yarn to some extent. Almost all the enemy designs are 100% the same. Updated, obviously, to keep with the graphics, but it's something really interesting to see that enemies never really change in this universe. Mind you, they never do in Mario either, but in some other series like Zelda, monsters might be traditional, but their designs won't change because of it, of the world they're in. Like, look how much Octoroks have changed, or Gibdos. You know what I mean, right? I'm very bad at explaining things if you haven't noticed it. I'm also very self-depreciative. Yay! Either way, in this stage, we actually get the return of the enemies I really don't like from a lot of the early Kirby games. These little wooden ghost guys, because they will knock you out of midair so many times if you don't know where they are. And I really don't like that. I hate enemies that do that kind of stuff. Oh, free star. Thankfully, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. I do that a lot. Nightmare in Dreamland. Dreamland 2, thankfully, keeps things very simple throughout the entire experience. for the most part. But there will be times, I can say for a fact, where the stages just kind of throw everything at you, and you really don't have much choice of how to dodge things. And I'm not a fan of that design mentality. And now he gets spikes. I could take Rick, but I like Ku more. Mind you, Ku is only just slightly better for this situation. Because Needles is probably the worst, or Needle is probably the worst. Oh, that's just cheap. The worst ability in the game, because first off, it's horribly limited in range. And secondly, you need to be really precise with it, otherwise you're either not going to hit them at all or take damage because you touched them. And I don't like that. And then it's just completely useful for this useless for this section. This horizontal, vertical draft is constantly pushing you upwards. Thankfully, there's no such thing as falling into the sky in this game, so you can't die from this, but because of this section, it's very hard to absorb powers to be able to take these blocks out quickly. So you can be here for a pretty long time if you don't know how to control yourself properly. Then there's just the fact of whether or not you want to get 1-ups and such, which I always do, because 1-ups are nice, even if I already have 25 of them. I will say for a fact that this is not the longest part in the game in terms of like full-out episode length. But it honestly, when I was recording it and editing it and even right now commentating it, it feels like it's the longest because there's just nothing really interesting done in this world. Every other world has some really cool gimmick to it or has really good music. But World 6 just feels bland. Considering its main gimmick is, you know, it's the sky and there's wind, ooh. And I don't like that. I don't like that much at all. And there's still 10 minutes left in this video. Great. Mind you, at least it's not as bad as some games, because there are some games that I really like, but I just will never do it for the LP channel because I don't have much interesting to say about it because it's one of those games that's a lot more fun to play than it is to watch. You know what I mean? Heck, in some cases, that's why I actually bring people along for LPs. Like why I brought Kenny along for a lot of Final Fantasy stuff is because first off, he's a Final Fantasy nerd like me, so he'll have a lot to say and compare it to. But in a lot of cases, it's also because I just won't have much to say about myself. Heck, that's why I actually brought Wheat Bread along for Wily Wars. Because while I love Mega Man to death, I had already played those games twice, so not only was I out of things to talk about, but I would just be a mute for most of that game without her. And ow, that hurt. I will say, Kirby does one thing really right in my eyes, though, and that's, it makes you feel like you really got hit, because whenever I get hit by something, especially when I have a power, the resulting thud sound effect makes me think, ow, that hurt. More so than most other games I've played by Nintendo, actually. Mind you, Kirby just has really good sound design as a whole, I'll give it that. I'm trying to think, have we? No, I don't think we've actually still haven't gotten the full 3D platformer for a Kirby. We've gotten a lot of 2.5Ds at this point. But the closest we ever got to 3D is still Air Ride, isn't it? Air Ride's a very interesting game to me, by the way. I've actually never owned it myself. I played it a lot with my friend Lucas, though. And that is a very interesting idea for a kart racer, if a bit repetitive. Quite repetitive, actually. Though that extra mode where you can just roam around the city, I love that. Plus its soundtrack is kick-ass. I'm trying to think what other sky worlds have bored me in video games. Mario 3 had one of them. Oh, hey, look, something I can actually explain. Each one of these doors leads to a different area. However, a lot of them have either enemies in them or 5 stars. The only ones you really need to go into are the middle left and the middle right. Because the middle right leads to 5 stars, and the middle left leads to the goal. I only recommend really entering those two because the other ones have like enemy gauntlets and such, and it's just not worth going into at all. It takes longer. And now it's time for World 6-6. And we start with a mini-boss. That's a sign of things to come, because this stage is long. Doesn't help that I just got hit. My main reason for liking Coup Cutter, actually... Oh, that's a really fun word to say, actually. Coup Cutter, Coup Cutter. Weird. It's probably my favorite just due to the fact that it covers the most space. They actually recommend you take Rick in this stage a lot, I see. Because there's actually a lot going on in the stage, but I like Coup just because I can move faster with him. Overall. At least it feels like I do, I'm not actually sure. Mind you, this game moves by quickly enough, so, Actually, now I think about it, that's the thing that's missing from this game. Kirby, at this point, still didn't have his dash feature, where you double tap the D-pad and you move, like, double or even, maybe even 1 or 2.5 times the speed. I want to say that was introduced in either Dreamland 3 or Superstar, but I don't know which. Mind you, I just haven't played much Kirby in recent years. I want to say the last time before this that I played a Kirby game was... I want to say maybe my original LP of Kirby's Dream Land 1. Because I haven't played a lot of the recent ones, so I've been kind of out of the loop as of recent. Huh. Though I will probably get Planet Robo whatever when it comes out, because it seems interesting. Though Federation Force takes first priority, as does Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, as does... Actually, no, Star Fox Zero is out and I still haven't gotten it. Huh. Money is tight! Plus, I'm looking more forward to Uncharted 4 at the moment because I love Uncharted. I really hope 4 is as good as 3 at least. Well, no, as good as 2, because 2 is my favorite Uncharted to date. I feel like they introduced the, integrated the story and gameplay the best in that one. Not that Uncharted 3 or 1 is bad, no, they're fantastic. Arguably some of the best games in the PlayStation 3 and 4 due to the collection. But Uncharted 2 just felt like it had the most gamey feel to it while still feeling like a movie, you know what I mean? Because that's the only one that had a really proper final boss. Because Uncharted 1 just had the immortal, like Navarro, I think his name was, with his shotgun of instant killingness. And 3 had that bland-ass secret agent's name that I can never remember. But Uncharted 2 had Lazarevich, and Lazarevich was awesome. I'm just hoping they can conclude the series on a very solid note. Very much like I'm hoping they can do with Kingdom Hearts 3, because if they don't end that and get all the plot lines together in a good way, oh, I'm gonna have several questions. And the boss of World 6 is Krak-O. You might remember him from Kirby's Dream Land 1. He was the eye surrounded by clouds, but in this he kind of has 2 phases. The first phase is that you have to take out the clouds around him when he's on the ground. This takes 4 hits. And after that, it's going to get a bit more complicated. Though this is, yet again, as with the world, this is the longest boss in the game, because this takes a while. Watch out for his explosions, by the way. Those hurt. As does running into a giant eyeball in the air. I can probably only say that in Kirby, and why is my phone notification thing going off so often? That rarely happens. Oh, that's why. Never mind. It's, that's a personal thing I'll have to do in a moment. But yeah, this boss fight, it just takes too long in my eyes. It's easy, at least in phase 1, but Kirby phases should never, or Kirby bosses should never be 2 phases unless it's the final boss. Because, you know, final boss, 2 phases just makes sense. Mind you, at least, Kirby's Dream Land 2, I can say for a fact, I'll bring this up again during the credits, but Kirby's Dream Land 2 does a good job of feeling new, but at the same time, very familiar. Which, mind you, getting too familiar is a problem in some games, but, eh. Either way, Phase 2 is a lot more like Krak-O from Kirby's Dream Land 1. He likes to hover all over the place and shoot things out at you. He takes 8 hits this time around, making him the healthiest boss we've seen to date. But this phase just kind of drags. Thankfully, you can get 2 hits in at a time at some points, but if you don't know what you're doing, this fight can take some time. Plus, it doesn't help that this attack is very random as to where it'll aim. I've heard it goes in only in the semicircle, but I swear to God, I've seen it go in its random directions. Then again, I'm just not very knowledgeable about this game, as I've mentioned. If you want a Kirby game that I know pretty well, well, I've already done it in Kirby's Dream Land 1. There's a reason I haven't touched this series in forever. It's because, while I like it, I don't play much Kirby. At least not this one. Because I have played a lot of, as I mentioned before, Amazing Mirror and Return to Dreamland. Or Nightmare in Dreamland. Too many Dreamlands. Either way, that's Krak-O. Very long and annoying boss in my eyes. But he's not too hard. And with that, the final world's unlocked, but we need to show off the bonus round for this stage. And it's the hardest one out of all of them. At least in my eyes, because this one's very random. Similarly to World 3's, or no, Last World's, the iceberg level, where they fall out of the sky, these ones come out of the ground. Randomly. And as usual, they'll bounce twice on the ground before falling through it, meaning you can't grab them. This is very random, it feels, and it's just not very fun. Plus, it just feels like it drags on, as does the entirety of World 6, really. So, not a fan of this one. World 6 as a whole does not need to exist in my eyes. It's the filleriest of worlds, because nothing interesting really happens here. Either way, with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in Part 5, we're ending off the game, ladies and gentlemen. See you guys then.